So with any AC problem, what I like to do is start off by confirming that there's a problem. I've got my temperature pressure chart. It's about 80 degrees in here. The gauges are showing over 100 because the car was outside. So I'm going to increase that temperature a little bit until we cool off the inside of the car. And I'll go into the 86 to 95 degree range. Out here, we're probably right around 30 or so percent humidity, so I'll use that one. We should be blowing about 54 degrees. Now there's a lot of these different temperature pressure charts that you can look up online. I'll put links down below so that you can find one and use whichever one you like the best. But basically, we're gonna start the car. We're gonna put the blower on medium for now. Make sure that we turn on our AC button, and we're gonna turn on recirc so that we're just recirculating the air inside the car. That's gonna give us the best possible chance to cool our thermometers down that we can. This guy is starting to drop down off of 100 degrees. I like to use two thermometers, one in the far vent if possible, and then one in the center driver's vent.
This one got up to like 115 and he's already down below 100.
So let's see, we've dropped down to like 82. What's yours reading?
A 90.
And what do we need to get down to?
We're supposed to be like 57, I think you said.
So one of the other symptoms that we've been experiencing is when we start the car up and we first fire up the AC system, when it's above 90 degrees or so outside, we're getting a hissing, whirring noise from inside the dash that doesn't change when we change the blower motor. That's usually an indication that we have a low refrigerant charge because the TXV valve, or the valve that is creating the high pressure to low pressure or the liquid to vapor at the evaporator, it doesn't have enough flow or pressure at it to operate efficiently, and it's probably short cycling and making noise. So that's one symptom that we already have that leads us to believe that it's likely a low pressure scenario. The next is the AC has never felt all that cold in here. Now that the car's been running for a few minutes, you can see our, maybe you can't see it if it doesn't want to focus, but our temperature is reading about 66 degrees on this side.
Mine hit 70 and now it's just slowly 68, like super slow now.
Now earlier I laid out all the tools that I was going to be working with today, and probably the scariest to most people if they've never worked with an AC system is going to be your gauge set. And clearly this doesn't look like a normal gauge set. This is a digital unit that can measure dozens of different refrigerants, and I did that because I install my own AC systems. I service the AC system on my house and my rental, my parents' house, and anybody that is a good enough friend. So I've got something that's super duper versatile. More than likely, you're going to have one of two different systems. You're either going to have an R134A system or a YZ1234YF or whatever the new refrigerant is. Either way, you can pick up a set of gauges super duper cheap on Amazon, like this one up here, or this one over here, or at Harbor Freight, like this one down here. And they'll usually include a set of hoses as well as adapters. Now, obviously, I have separated adapters or divorced adapters because my hoses get used on multiple different refrigerant systems, which also means that I do something a little bit different afterwards, and I clean my lines out, and I typically vacuum down before I use them on the car. That way I can't put any air or moisture in the car. The other thing that you can do is use a can of refrigerant, fill your lines up like I'll show you later, and then purge the system to make sure that there are no contaminants. So for now, I'm going to get my gauges ready. Before we hook them up to the car, we'll also take a quick look around at all of our lines to see if there are any leaks. I don't think there's going to be anything substantial because it still works. If anything, it's only leaked off a little bit, which surprisingly some manufacturers allow for. So BMW is one of the manufacturers that allows for a certain amount of refrigerant to escape over time. There are two places that are going to be your most common leaks, and they're both the same part in a different location, and that's your service port. So on this car, you've got a service port right up here by your power steering system, and a service port right over here next to the radiator core support. Inside these caps, when you take them off, we want to listen for a psst. Nothing there. And then we want to look inside the cap to see if it's all oily. This one doesn't look bad. And we want to look inside to the Schrader valve to see the same thing. And there's a tiny bit of oil on there, but that's not super indicative of anything. and we look around the cap to see if there's a bunch of moisture from oil as well. Same thing on this one. So if that one was leaking, I couldn't hear anything. There is oil, a bit more in this one. Not too much going on down there, but there's quite a bit on my finger. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a couple of droplets of alcohol in both of these and see if we see any bubbling, and that will tell us if the Schrader valve itself is where our leak is coming from. The next thing that we want to do is we want to follow the lines all the way back to everywhere that we can see on the compressor, on the front of the condenser here, and then observe the whole face of the condenser and look for any oily, shiny spots that maybe a rock had hit. But again, like I said earlier, if there was a spot that a rock hit, it wouldn't be a tiny little leak. It would have all leaked out and we'd have no AC. So that's highly doubtful that that's our situation. We're going to start with a syringe of alcohol over here. I'm using alcohol because it's going to evaporate nicely and I can see it down in there. I can't contaminate the system with it once I clean it out and it evaporates. I'm just using an old hypodermic needle. This is a insulin needle that I ripped the top off of. Not because of other activities, never.
Not that you know about.
So right now we've got the Schrader valve completely submerged.
You're just looking for bubbles.
Yeah, we're looking for any type of a bubble to come out of there. No bubbles. That's good. You could use a soapy solution. The only thing I don't like about that is it's really hard to get out of there. And when I go to put my gauges on, I really don't want to contaminate the system. So I'm just looking for any type of movement.
Don't really look like there's any.
It's still possible that they were leaking from there, but it's so small that we wouldn't see it. And in that case, we'll fill the sucker up, and in 10 years, we'll fill it up again.
Yeah. It's an old car. I'm sure stuff has leaked out.
Make sure you use your super squints. So red is high side. You want to make sure your gauges are closed up here so that they're not cycling through to the other side. Okay, that one's on. Make sure we're tight.
It's just like how air compressors click on, it looks like.
Okay. Now, I've got my gauges with these ball valves on them. So before I open the ball valve, I'm going to open our service port, make sure I don't hear a leak, make sure everything's tight. Then I'll open into the system. We've got 75 PSI there. Same thing on this side. Let's see, 98. Next up, we got to start the car. I guess the only other thing that I didn't talk about was verifying that the AC condenser fan, or that the condenser fan itself was working. But we're not experiencing any overheat, and this car only has one fan, so I'm going to assume that it is working. We'll double check as we're running the car. Jay, why don't you go ahead and jump in the car?
Sounds like a plan.
So we're going to go with this scale here, 76 to 85. We're going to look for 26 to 38 PSI on the low side, 120 to 171 on the high side, and 50-degree outlet temp.
Starting.
So right away, I can see our low side is low and our high side is low.
Do you want the AC off?
Where pressures are low on both sides. JJ, go ahead and idle up to 1,000 RPM. Let's see how much lower it drops. Typically, the low side will drop down. All right, Jay. So the low side is going to come down because the AC compressor is creating suction on that side of the system. It's pulling the refrigerant in and then compressing and pushing it out over the high side. And we're about 10 PSI low, 15 PSI low on the low side, which means we're going to get our canister and hook it up. So I've already connected up to my fitting here. The system is sealed off. I know that this side of the system is under vacuum. Our puncture is down or up, so it's not going to puncture the can as we open it. This is a self-sealing can, so we can actually reuse it more than one time.
With non-self-sealing cans, you put it on, and if you use 3 ounces, you use 3 ounces?
Yep, you have to leave it hooked up.
Dang, that's rough.
So this is one spot where super squints are not recommended.
Let me get you some glasses, Judah.
because super squints become super blind if you were to spray the stuff at high pressure into your eyes.
There we go.
All right, this should be open. I'm gonna crack the seal right here just to make sure any air that was in there is evacuated out. Then I'm gonna go ahead and open this side up. It's gonna fill our line, but it's not gonna do anything up here. Up here, all the control is gonna be right here on the low side. We don't wanna put any refrigerant in the high side because we stand the chance of putting liquid in there and damaging the pump. On the low side, we're gonna be totally okay pulling into the system. So on the bottle, it says to rotate between 12 and 3 o'clock as you're filling the system. And what that's doing is the liquid that's in here, it allows it to change state while it's coming and going and not totally freeze the can up. So what we'll do is we're gonna pop open and see if you can get in there so that we can see that. We're gonna pop open the low side and you'll see the pressure go up, and then I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna let it stabilize.
It jumps all the way to 45.
Yeah, the can's under a lot of pressure.
Wow.
So it took just a tiny bit of pressure and we brought it from 24 to 25. So we'll go ahead and do it again. And we should see both the low and the high side changing gradually. Now, the best way to do this is to take it to an AC shop. If you're uncomfortable with working with refrigerant, you really shouldn't be doing this because it's dangerous for both you and the atmosphere. I'm not a greenie or anything like that. I just recognize that bad stuff is bad stuff. It's like huffing brake clean and out here dancing in the wind. I mean, it's just not good. The best way to do this is by weight. Now, we don't know how much is in the car because we don't have an evacuation system. And we also don't know what the label is supposed to be because this has an aftermarket hood on it and the AC label is gone. We could look it up online, but again, that's irrelevant because we don't know how much is in the system. To do this properly, what I would have done in the dealership is I would have evacuated it, weighed how much I pulled out in both oil and refrigerant, and then injected the proper amount or weight at that point. This is the way that it's been done for ages before you had digital scales and everything else. You did it by pressure and by your environment.
So it had gotten up to 27 and then it restabilized at 25.
Yep.
While we were talking.
So I'd be willing to bet just coming up a couple PSI that we're starting to get a little cooler inside already.
I would agree with that. Oh, by leaps and bounds it feels like. The center gauge says 50 degrees.
50 degrees?
Instead of 60, yeah.
Nice.
So if we can get down as low as it can go, that'd be amazing.
Our exhaust fan's still on?
Yes. We're not gonna die yet.
All right, what are our pressures, Judah, or our temperatures?
44, and then this one is at like 39.
So our central vent is the coldest. Our two outside vents are like 6 to 8 degrees warmer. But we're reaching a temperature that is colder than what our chart would suggest. So at this point, I think we've got enough refrigerant in the car to call it a win. I'd say we used a little over half of our can, maybe 3/4 of it, which goes on to tell us that this system was lower than we thought. Now, let me show you how to disconnect all of this in a safe way. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bump the idle up because I wanna create as much suction on the low side as possible before I close the valve. So Judah, kick it. Go ahead and bring it up to like 2,000 RPM. So we're gonna watch our numbers, and we're dropping down just a little bit, but basically we're evacuating the low side line at this point. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close my valve here, and I'm gonna undo my Schrader valve there. Okay, Judah, let her down. Now I'm gonna let it idle down. I'm gonna get my high side to drop, and then I'm gonna do the same over here. High side's down. We're gonna pop up on the service port. And then we can go ahead and shut the car off, Judah. On our bottle, we're gonna go ahead and open our release port. And in this case, My 540 might need a little bit of a charge too, because I think it's got a slow leak. I'm gonna leave all of this connected. So we'll start by disconnecting our high side port. I always like to throw a rag on it in case it goes, tries to freeze my hand or something. And you can see we lost just a tiny bit of gas there, but that's normal. That's within the allowable exception.
You probably shouldn't breathe it in either.
Nah, it tastes great.
Oh, okay.
And then that one,
Low side, no pressure.
no pressure.
That makes sense.
So now would be a good time to do our alcohol test again, because we just exercised both of our Schrader valves. It's a good thing you didn't have a newer car with the 123 YF system. That refrigerant is expensive.
Yeah.
So with your service caps, make sure your O-rings are in there, screw them on, and screw them on tight. These are your last line of defense in case these guys leak.
Now, I have a question for you that you can also answer for the viewers. Say this weren't my car, and I didn't have you. How would oneself know which side is the high pressure, which side is low pressure without an instruction manual?
The low pressure is the small port. The
always
high
smaller.
pressure is the big port.
Okay, so they're always size dependent.
Yes.
Or at least on BMWs.
On any car.
Any car.
It's universal SAE sizing.
Language.
So blue is going to be low side. It's the smaller port. Red is going to be the bigger port, high side. Bigger for high pressure.
Perfect.
All right, so we're out driving now. I've got vent temperature of about 42 to 44 degrees. It's like 95 degrees outside, so that feels pretty amazing. There are a couple of gotchas here. The temperature pressure chart is not always going to be perfect. Depending on how your car operates and the design of the system, you may need less or more pressure. So like I showed you, I like to put in refrigerant very slowly. And if you really want to be safe using one of these charts, aim for the low side of the pressures, assuming you get the response inside the car that you want. Like we did here. We got 40 degrees coming out of the dash. That's fantastic. In fact, that's colder than it should be at this outside temperature. But it's about what you might expect from a well-functioning AC system. I hope that this helps you work on your own car. If you're looking to try to add one of these small cans of refrigerant on your own, it really isn't that difficult. It can be dangerous to both you and the environment, so tread cautiously. Really appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, comment, let us know what we did wrong. I may have been certified, but it's been a long time, and you can tell by the gray in my beard, I'm not getting any younger. Thanks for watching.